So this panel, we're going to talk about the economic, civic, and community impact of major sports events in LA. And I think the program tells you this illustrious group. But Kevin, I have to start with you because I don't think any of us in this room can underestimate what that multi-billion-dollar stadium, that investment in Hollywood Park, now in Woodland Hills, just an incredible investment in this community. But that's not all. You also are all in, as Kathy just said, in helping get these events. What is driving that for you and also Mr. Kroenke as well?
Well, I think I appreciate everybody's kind words to date. I think the most important thing we always say about the Rams, and it's true for SoFi Stadium, our team is only as healthy as our community. We can only be successful, the Rams, if Los Angeles is its best version of itself. And I think when we talk about these events, when we talk about we dreamed up SoFi Stadium in Hollywood Park. It was to host the world's greatest events, to put Los Angeles and Inglewood on the world's greatest stage. And I think back to a text Kathy sent the morning of the Super Bowl in 2022, which was the picture across the lake of SoFi Stadium. And she said, this is what the world is seeing today, this morning, about Los Angeles. And it was a beautiful morning, a little too hot, probably for my liking to play a game, but that's the goal. The goal is to not only build a stadium, when you think about bringing the NFL back to Los Angeles and reacclimating this market, it's about highlighting Los Angeles as a global city, and we did not have truly the infrastructure from a stadium perspective to host the world's biggest events with the Rose Bowl and the Coliseum anymore. And I will always remember visibly, we got the right to move back to Los Angeles on a Tuesday night in January. On Wednesday morning, I'm here in Los Angeles. First call on my cell phone is Casey Wasserman. And Casey says, okay, how much are you going to give to LA24? And I'm like, we're building you a stadium. First question, and not even, hey, congrats, nice to talk to you again, et cetera. What are you going to give? And it was the idea of, your stadium is going to help change our bid, right? And I think that was the message that I took home day one of coming back to Los Angeles of, we need a stadium that can credibly be the world's greatest stadium in the sports and entertainment capital of the world, that people never ask questions of, should we come to Los Angeles? And I think the driving factor is, and certainly for me growing up as an Angel, for Stan, having lived here for 40 plus years, is how do we make Los Angeles shine for these events so that it takes its rightful place among the best cities in the world?
Can you put any economics to it for us? I mean, what does it mean, to have these events and not just the Super Bowl?
Well, Kathy said it, we lost 8 figures on the Super Bowl. So I think, when you think about the investment, not only in the stadium, and that will probably be the least we lose, and I don't want to say lose, but that is what it costs to host these events. The World Cup will be more than that. This Super Bowl, because the NFL can't help themselves spending more and more, will be even more than that. And then the Olympics is an amazing partnership, and I'm hopeful Reynold and crew help bring the cost down. But these are the investments you're making in the community because it helps tremendously grow the value of Los Angeles. And you can't put, for the Rams, for SoFi Stadium, the value of Los Angeles is the value of our club. And, we can talk about valuations in sports and whether they're real or not. The reason that the Rams right now are valued as the second most valuable club in the world in any sport is because of Los Angeles and the health of Los Angeles. And the only way that grows, the only way we continue to make our investment work is making an investment in the city, the people, and making sure that people look at SoFi Stadium and the Rams as a positive contributor to the community on the 349 days a year where we're not playing football.
I think we didn't talk about the NBA All-Star Game that we also have as a result of the building we're sitting in right now, correct?
Oh, I think about it. I'm talking too much, but driving here today, I was reminded this entire development, and it's a credit to Mayor Butts and what he's done. Into a Dome, Hollywood Park, incredible. The Forum, the change in Inglewood over the past decade, has been spurred by an investment in uplifting our communities. And I think what Steve and Gillian and their crew have done here is truly amazing.
Thanks, Kevin. Eric, Vice President of Impact for LA 2028. I actually did read your 62-page impact and sustainability plan last night. I promised I did my homework. A recent speaker at one of our center events said it perfectly, that LA doesn't copy other places, that we create on our own, our narrative. So how is this plan going to be something innovative or something different and actually hold after the games are gone?
Yeah, so I'm going to just take a quick step back for everyone. In my role as Vice President of Impact, I oversee our impact commitments around economic empowerment and youth sports, which is anchored in a $160 million commitment to the City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks Department and the Play LA program. It's the first ever publicly stood up adaptive sport program where if you're a family that has a child with a disability, you can participate in sport. So that's a really important marker. The other quick step back is Inglewood is my hometown. So just to be here in this space, I went to middle school around the corner. My folks live down the street. So just being a part of this movement and being here in '84 as a 16-year-old. So when we talk about impact, we talk about workforce development, talk about a 30-year career in sports and entertainment. This is a very personal endeavor for all of us here in Los Angeles to bring this forward. As it relates to our impact and sustainability plan, what we really want to try to accomplish is create this vision, this stake in the ground of what we can accomplish through sport. And that's creating access and expanding access in several key areas. And we talked about economic empowerment, workforce development, but what are those opportunities as it relates to small businesses? So to plan and deliver the games, $7.1 billion budget. But beyond that, economic impact expands to the $15 billion here in the region, right? So think about your mom and pop store or your business where the games will take place in your community and those opportunities for those businesses. So that's really, really critical. The third vertical within our impact and sustainability plan is how can we use this moment to create a healthy environment for our communities? And so, we're very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to partner with Becky Dale, our VP of Sustainability, who's here today, who in your 62 plan that you read, really articulates the opportunities that we have to be resilient by nature. How do we best utilize the games to be a pulling gravity force for these different programs and these opportunities for this philanthropic community to be a part of? So, Cindy, I think those are really the reasons that we can utilize the games to bring things full circle.
Talk about the $160 million investment in youth as the run-up to these games.
Yeah, so, as a part of the City of LA Games agreement, the ILC and LA 28, with our partners with the City of Los Angeles, outlined a program, a youth sports program for our youth in the city. And so the opportunity for all kids in recreation centers and aquatic centers throughout the city can participate in sport for, basically free or as little as $10. So these are quality, affordable youth sports
And it's
programs.
already underway, correct?
Yes, it's already underway. Last month, we hit our 1 millionth enrollment in the program, which is a key marker. And it allows organizations like the 84 Foundation to do even more. So if you take the 84 Foundation's commitment to youth and youth sports, couple that with the $160 million, you're talking about a deep impact. Because at the end of the day, our athletes, Ezra, I have an Olympian who's on my team, Noelani Day, who's here. It's really about the power of sport and the impact that we can have on the young people and how they can be the future of this movement and making a difference in the community.
Alan, you've been so involved in staging world-class football, but we don't call it that, soccer events over the years. But giving your experience, your perspective, how do you see this? Because after the NBA All-Star Game, I believe the World Cup's up next.
Well, let me just backtrack for a second. Okay, I'll backtrack for a second and talk about my role as chair of the LA Tourism Board, because how that fits in with
Impact.
sports events
That's
and impact on our economy, and also philanthropy. The official mission of the LA Tourism Board is to fill up the convention center. The whole idea, obviously, is to have people come in and spend money and participate in the community. The hospitality industry is one of the major industries in the city. It contributes, it employs over half a million people. half a million people. It last year contributed $300 million to the city's general fund. But the tie-in, of course, is the major events. The day in, day out work of the tourism board is, as I said, but when you talk about the Olympics being here for virtually a month, Olympic Paralympics, when you talk about the World Cup spanning 6 weeks, 8 matches, but 6 weeks, a Super Bowl, those major events bring literally millions of tourists. And so the direct benefit to our community is what they spend and what they experience. The indirect benefit is important too, because it's the image of Los Angeles. We talked about earlier. We're probably too close to the scene and so critical of all the things that are wrong in our community. Those tourists don't see that. And certainly the billions of television viewers.
Can I ask you something? How fast is that script going to get flipped? I mean, we know what the world has seen of Los Angeles in the last 6 months, much to our broken hearts. But how fast does something like...
Well, I would say that the last 6 months, it's not Los Angeles, it's the country. LA, including like during the pandemic, we did a good job of basically separating ourselves from the rest of the country, politely. And I think that's the case now. Domestically, yes, we're getting clobbered. But this is a resilient city. We have bounced back from more different cataclysmic events, and we keep rolling and we keep going. It's a unique place. I think it attracts people who are ambitious, entrepreneurial, love, obviously, the natural resources that we're blessed with. And so I'm not really worried about that. When next summer when the World Cup comes, and obviously in 28 when the Olympics and Paralympics come, people get totally engrossed in the event. The people that are here and the people that are watching on television, and they're not paying attention as we are to the day-to-day problems we may have. So I'm not worried about that, Cindy, really.
Okay.
I just want to say, I don't mean to overlook the one-off events because they also contribute money and again contribute to our image. When you talk about the various all-star games, when you talk about the award shows, the Emmys, the Oscars, the Grammys, again, the world sees the best of LA. They see the glamour, frankly. And I remember watching television at the U.S. Open at LA Country Club year before last, and the drones from the TV were just covering Southern California. At the same time as we were worried about homelessness and everything else, that's not what the world saw. The world just saw this beautiful city, and it can't be beat.
Paul, we're facing, I think at last count, a city budget deficit of at least $1 billion. County, $3 billion. The state, billions and billions. Talk to us about, I don't want to ask you, are we ready? But what kind of condition are we in as a city to take on what we're all excited about it, but what's really the reality from the mayor's office and from the electeds in this situation?
Well, thanks, Cindy. And I think I would answer that by building on what Alan just described about the economic opportunities that these events bring. And I want to thank USC for doing this event because this is a unique moment in this city's history. We should be clear on this. No city in world history has ever taken on the volume and intensity of major sporting events that we are about to take on over the course of the next 3 years, ever. And so you asked about how quickly we can flip the script on this. I don't know how quickly it'll happen, but this is the opportunity that nothing else could offer us. You think about what other cities do to get even one of these events. Cities subsidize stadium construction in order to get Super Bowls. They bend over backwards to try to get any one of these events. And we have the world's biggest events coming, one right after another here in Los Angeles. World Cup, Super Bowl, Olympic, Paralympic Games in a span of a little over 2 years.
Because I don't want to ignore.
Go ahead.
In 31, the Women's World Cup is going to be coming here too.
Exactly. It doesn't stop in 2028. So, and what comes with that? 8 matches of the World Cup are going to produce over $500 million of economic activity. The Olympic and Paralympic Games will produce $18 billion in economic activity, and probably, you take it all together, around $1 billion in state and local tax revenues coming from that. Now, Eric and LA 28, they have a budget of, as Reynold mentioned, $7.1 billion. They're only going to spend $6.8. The rest is reserve. I want to keep reminding them of that. But $18 billion in economic activity must include a huge multiplier effect. It's not just their spend, it's all the other spends, the tourism spends that Alan mentioned, the ancillary events that are going to be coming from Los Angeles. Every major corporation in the world is going to be here with hospitality and others. So this is a tremendous opportunity that we cannot miss, that we must get right to infuse new economic activity, to create jobs, to invite new businesses, and to put forward Los Angeles in the eyes of the world in the best possible light, so that continuing long after the events are over, people are still coming and seeing Los Angeles.
What does it come as a cost to the city, though, and the county? What's the investment by the city and the county and the state?
Well, there's risk. Right now, under the agreement that we have as the host city, we agreed to, if in the virtually impossible event that the games should come up short on their revenue projections, which I don't believe is going to happen. I think they are going to be, we will become the only city in the world to have hosted 3 economically successful Olympic Games after 2028. I'm certain of that. In the very unlikely event that that should not happen, the city's budget is exposed to potential liability for shortfall, and so is the state of California. And that's why we're working hand in glove with LA 28 extremely closely to ensure that their expenditures are efficient, that our city expenditures are efficient, and that the reason that Mayor Bass created my office and asked me to lead it was specifically so that we could target all of the city's activities in preparation for these games to ensure that all of these events will be successful, that they'll be done efficiently, and that they'll create a lasting legacy for the city.
What's your biggest worry right now in terms of we're trying to recover from probably the worst wildfires the city has seen? We have multiple challenges in front of us as a city right now. What's your biggest worry about being ready?
I don't have time to worry. We're busy getting ready. There's volatility in the country. There's volatility in the world. There's things that, we don't know what we can expect a year from now or 2 years from now or 3 years from now. Tokyo had no idea that right in the eve of their games, they were going to have a global pandemic to deal with. So I don't worry about, but I am aware that there are many things that are out of our control that could impact our upward trajectory that we're on right now. But that's why we prepare. That's why we plan. That's why we create plans, not plan B, but plan B, C, D, E, and F. And it's why we work in collaboration with the organizing committees to ensure that the city is protected.
I just want to pull out for a minute, because one of the reasons, Kevin, I wanted to really do and work with Jim and Bob and Wendy on this is because I think I was struck by not only the $1 billion investment that Stan Kroenke and Steve Ballmer came to our city and made, But also, I think you particularly and your colleague Molly found a way to give back. So I think the Chargers, the Rams, the Dodgers, you all have a philanthropic arm. Can you talk a little bit about the way you sort of been motivated and structured to give back?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it was when we came back and you were going to build the biggest house in Southern California, you had to figure out a way that people looked at us not just as the deep pockets that built SoFi Stadium, but the people that could make Los Angeles a better place. And I'm so fortunate Molly Higgins is the best at what she does in the world, and I'll say that, and getting involved in the community. And when we came back in 2016, I had one challenge to Molly, which was, do a listening tour and figure out what are the biggest problems in Southern California. Because I think one of the things that often happen with teams is we get involved with fringe issues we know we can be successful in. And Molly came back and she said, it's homelessness, it's education, it's socioeconomic challenges. And we jumped right into those. And, at times we don't always have great things to show for them. But working hand in hand with the Lease United Way, working with City or working with every organization, we tried to get into the messiest issues and help where we can, because I think our brand brings a multiplier effect to things well beyond what we do, and it brings people along with it. And I think even I look back this past year, we normally for most years we do our draft at a nice, usually mansion overlooking the ocean. This year we said, hey, that's not viable in this climate, and so challenge Molly said we wound up doing it at LA Fire Ops Air Station at Van Nuys Airport, and we had 500 first responders in our draft room the whole weekend. And Coach McVay gave a talk to them. And that was a way to combine what we do and the passion people have around the NFL and the draft with helping our city recover and honor those first responders. Just last week, we partnered with Zillow to give a house to a family that lost everything in the fires for 15 months to cover their rent and move them in. And I think when you look at what teams can do, I think and Ezra's story was so amazing, but sports can inspire. But when they see leaders of these teams giving back, it makes people think, what can I do? And we were fortunate enough, as glad as I was to win the Super Bowl in our own building, Andrew Whitworth winning Walter Payton Man of the Year in YouTube Theater and becoming the first NFL player in history to win Walter Payton Man of the Year on Thursday, wear the patch, and win a Super Bowl on Sunday might be one of the greatest highlights of the Rams' return and what Andrew has done in this community as a leader moving forward. And I remember he deserves that. One of the things people always used to talk about with the NFL, does Los Angeles need the NFL? And you could make the answer yes or no. I'm not arguing whether it was. But what I think that they left out for both us and for the Spanos family and what they do is the impact we can have on the ground in the community that people can touch and feel on a daily basis. That is different than watching the games. That is different than playing fantasy football. That is when you see our teams show up in the community, it is making Los Angeles a better place. That does not happen without the teams. And the Dodgers do an amazing job. The Clippers and what Steve Ballmer and their group has done with basketball courts throughout the Lakers. This is a city with 12 professional teams who are at the top of their game and giving back, and it makes our community better. And I think it's why it is such a vibrant sports city.
Thanks, Kevin. Eric, what's going to be legacy out of all of this? I think a lot of people look at a big event like yours and think, how can I even get, how can I get tickets? How does this trickle down into our community for impact?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing I harken back to is the IOC comes and visits our city, periodically just to check in. And we were down at LA Live with the delegation from the IOC, and they were loading out for the Emmys, loading in for Kendrick Lamar, and there was a basketball game that night. And we shared that with them, and they're just blown away that all these things are happening in LA at the same time. And then we go over to UCLA, and I think it was move-in day at UCLA, and a UCLA representative shared with them, Oh, we're moving in more students today than we will move in athletes during games time. So this is what we do in Los Angeles, right? We deliver impact, and then we build towards that legacy. Now, for us, there's a couple things that we are going to be leaning into as it relates to legacy. One, the $160 million, we're getting started. We're not waiting till the games are over before we make an impact on our youth. That's one. Secondarily, there are a number of things that we're doing in collaboration with organizations that each and every day work with our small businesses, each and every day work with our local young people, teens, young adults, and transitional workers, our community colleges, our local CSUs or local universities on how we can get the local workforce ready for the games. Reynolds mentioned 4,000 people that are going to be working and hired to work in LA 28. Well, we know it's going to take even more people to deliver the games at the venues, in the municipalities, these live sites, et cetera, on and on. So for us, a big part of that legacy is how can we better help develop and standardize some of these everyday practices to get our businesses ready? How can we develop programs that last beyond the games? Because that's a big piece. And then after the games are over and we are wildly successfully commercially with our ticket sales, with all of our sponsorships, et cetera, then we will have a legacy that will continue to showcase Los Angeles as the place where young people are supported and developed here in our own city.
Cindy,
Paul,
can I just add briefly to Eric's answer? Because Mayor Bass has made very clear this will be a games for all. And LA 28 has a ticketing plan that includes affordable tickets, and that's great. But there will be people who won't even be able to afford those tickets. So it's very important that we have community celebrations throughout this city, so that everyone will feel as though they're a part of it in every neighborhood, and we celebrate every neighborhood and show every neighborhood to the world. So that's one important legacy. With that comes investments in our streets, our rights of way to make those neighborhoods better, more investment in tourism opportunities for each one of those neighborhoods, accessibility improvements for all of the venue areas and the fan zones and other community celebrations. Mayor Bass has already made an accessibility commitment. And in terms of economic impact, this is the first time any Olympic organizing committee has ever made a specific commitment to local businesses and to small businesses and underserved businesses. And we're going to meet that and make sure that everyone in every part of Los Angeles benefits from these games.
I want to jump in off Paul's because I think this conversation highlights one of the impacts that the Olympics can have even away from the event and why bringing these events matter, which is, you mentioned at the beginning, our new practice facility project in Woodland Hills, which is 100 acres and $10 billion worth of investment into the valley. And last fall, when we brought Mayor Bass out to walk her through the project and what it was going to mean and, you know, kind of ask for help expediting it, her look at us was, can this be done by LA 28? Can you guys start to work on building this for LA 28, which will include the potential for world-class sports orthopedics for the community, viewing centers for the community. And our goal, whether we hit it or not, right now, is that by July 14th of 2028, citizens in the Valley will be able to gather and watch the games, you know, at this facility. They'll be able to take part, you know, in the medical care that becomes because of these facilities. And I think that's the kind of economic growth that gets expedited here. And as anybody knows, doing business in LA is not always easy. But if we can help expedite these things to deliver benefits from the community that technically have nothing to do with the games, but have everything to do with the games, those are the results I think that we can credibly look at Angelenos and say, this is because of the Olympics that you are here now.
Ellen, thanks, Kevin. Ellen, talk about the World Cup.
Well, the World
Talk
Cup.
about what kind of an impact that's. I think we all kind of forget about it because we think Super Bowl because that's what we're conditioned to do as a nation. But this is huge.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest sporting event in the world.
It's the biggest single sporting event in the world. It's not just in LA. It's going to be in 11 American cities, 3 Mexican cities, and 2 Canadian cities. So it's a huge, huge effort. Just focusing on it here Some have described it, I think it's a little bit of an overstatement, that it's like having 8 Super Bowls. I don't think it's quite that, but the multiple makes it actually a bigger impact from an economic standpoint. The other thing is, much as we love the NFL, there isn't that much interest around the world. The TV viewing audience for the World Cup final opening major event is up to 2 billion people. So you have the world seeing LA. Before I leave the stage here, I want to say one thing. Paul said that the city of Los Angeles basically is backstopping the first, if any, losses that the LA 28 experiences. I want to say that Kathy Schlossman and what the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment Commission is doing is they have to raise every single penny because the city does not backstop it. So it's self-sustaining. So if I can put a pitch in on behalf of...
Wait, I promise that's going to be the last question. Everybody gets to pitch.
Okay,
the
well, I
audience out.
preempted it. Sorry.
So you're helping me tee it up. That's a good thing. Paul, you wanted to say something, and you were ready to jump in here, and I don't want to stop you. No.
I think I just wanted to respond when Kevin talked about it being sometimes difficult to do business here. That also is a legacy that I hope will come out of these games, is because we need to figure out how to get stuff done quickly, efficiently, and successfully in a short amount of time. And just as Mayor Bass has done with the cleanup efforts and recovery efforts relating to the Palisades fire, we've done it there. We need to do it for the games. Then you start to develop muscle memory that becomes process change, and that can be an important legacy as well.
All right, we have to talk about some fun things with the Olympics. Kevin, tell us about that swimming pool that's going to be in that stadium.
It's fun for me, when we first started dreaming up how to use SoFi Stadium for the Olympics. Obviously, we knew kind of originally opening and closing ceremonies, but then it always seemed like a miss not to have an event. And it was about 2019 we started to kick around like, could we do swimming, in this building? And we started to see the renderings, and it was amazing to see it come to life. And I would say, for me personally, Eric talked about growing up in Inglewood. I remember going to the swimming events in 1984 at USC and basically starting to swim after that. So, my sole goal, they're going to build this pool in SoFi between February and July. I'm going to swim in the Olympic pool and call myself an Olympian.
Love it.
I'm a swimmer, too.
But, I think the sheer imagination, and I think this is a great credit to what LA can do, right? Take the most important event, or I would say not the most important, certainly the most watched event right now in the Summer Olympics in swimming, flip it on the calendar and put it in the world's greatest stadium so that 40,000 people can watch it instead of auditoriums that normally hold about 8 to 10,000. That is a transformative idea that I think you could probably only pull off in LA, and it's a great credit to LA 28 for thinking of that.
And Paul, I think you or Eric were saying to me earlier in the week that all these cities are actually going to have delegations from different countries. So you want to speak? I mean, it seems educational for our citizens, but also extraordinary that that's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when we think about the impacts of the game and the indirect opportunities for our local businesses and our communities, there are going to be 206 national organizing committees, NOCs, that are going to be coming for the game. So you think of Team USA, so every country that's going to be participating, not only will the athletes and their coaches be coming, but their delegations, their doctors, their trainers, et cetera. These are all going to be amazing opportunities for us. And they're going to all throw parties and have gatherings and do events. And so I think one of the things I want everyone to do is look at our competition schedule, look at where the games are going to be taking place, the venues, what's taking place there. That's going to be your roadmap to your community for you to see what's going to take place where, how you can plug in. Also, what Reynolds says, we need you to be ambassadors, and that is an opportunity for you to share out broadly how your neighbors, how the people that you work with in the philanthropic community can get involved. And are we at the last part, call to action?
We are. Call to action, quick though. And then Paul, you're next.
So outside of trying to figure out how I'm going to meet with everyone, since Reynolds said I have to set up meetings with everyone, I know many of you that are here. I've worked with many of you through the years, and so think about our communities. Think about those in need. Think about those who want to participate in the games who may not have a pathway. There are going to be a number of opportunities where we're going to need the philanthropic community to step in, whether it's subsidizing tickets for local youth development organizations to attend the games, or it's supporting our sustainability plan and some of the things that we're going to be doing in the granting area, or it's our Cultural Olympiad program. There are going to be a place for all of you to plug in, and there's room and a spot for everyone. And so I know at times there's a disconnect between sport and philanthropy at times, but this is our time and our moment to come together in community around the power of sport and deliver something special, not only for all of us in this room, but for the community in general.
Paul, last word, but it has to be quick, even though we threatened triple overtime here.
Well, I think I want to just follow up on the great comment that Kathy Schlossman made earlier about ending the BS about Los Angeles. Because we've been hearing from, both from the left and the right, well, Los Angeles can't handle this. How is Los Angeles going to be ready with all of its challenges to be ready for the 28 games and hosting the world? And that is just such a load of bull. And I want to say why. In 1932, we hosted the Olympic Games here in Los Angeles in the middle of the greatest global economic catastrophe in modern times. In the middle of the Great Depression, when people were lining up in soup lines on Broadway, we hosted the world here and had the first financially successful Olympic Games, by the way, in 1932. And we put Los Angeles on the map. We were not a global city before the 1932 games. We were known after that. Then fast forward to 1984, and many of you who are old enough to remember that as a great time in Los Angeles. Well, when we were at this point in the planning for it, 3 years out, we were in the middle of the deepest recession since World War II. We had 10% unemployment in Los Angeles, and it was the immediate aftermath of the 1980 boycotted games in Moscow. The Olympics were teetering on the edge of collapse. Had it not been for Los Angeles, we may not have had an Olympic Games now. But we raised our hands and we said, we'll come to the rescue. We will save the Olympics, and we did, and we hosted the most successful Olympic Games in history, before or since. Games that are still benefiting Angelenos today, more than 40 years later. So when I look forward to the 28 Games and our first Paralympic Games, and I see the opportunities that provides for us, and we hear these talking heads from the peanut gallery who are asking whether or not we'll be ready, I can tell them, not only do I know that we will be ready, I know that we will produce the most spectacular event in history. I know that because that's what we do. We've done it before, facing greater challenges than we have now. And right now we have this incredible golden opportunity that we can't miss. We're not going to miss it. We're going to produce the greatest event in history.
So I also want to just invoke Kathy Schlossman and just our unsung hero, as far as I'm concerned, in this city that really philanthropy can connect with the LA Sports and Entertainment Commission. It's been nothing but a pleasure for me to do that, and I just would encourage everybody to find that as a merger point. We'll have a 30-minute break, is that right? And then back with a fireside chat. So enjoy, and thanks everybody.